King of the Hill might seem like just another wholesome cartoon about propane and Texas life, but this show got dark sometimes. Like, seriously disturbing dark. Today we're going to talk about the 3 episodes that still give me nightmares, and trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at Hank Hill the same way again. We're talking stalking, police shootings, family destruction, and psychological horror that somehow made it onto primetime TV. Let's start with number 3 and work our way up to the absolute darkest episode that almost broke me. Okay, but if you've never seen the episode called Pygmalion, you're in for a treat. This episode is seriously messed up, and honestly, it's way darker than most people realize. So it all starts pretty normal. Peggy being her usual bossy self and getting Luann fired from her job at some restaurant. Classic Peggy move, right? She thinks she's helping, but she's really just making things worse. Then she drags poor Luann to this boring lecture thing where they meet this guy named Trip Larson. Now here's where things get weird real quick. Trip seems like a successful businessman. He's got money, a fancy house, even a hot air balloon. But there's something seriously off about this dude from the start. The way he looks at Luann is just creepy, like really creepy. When Luann goes for her job interview at his place, Trip takes her up in his balloon and starts saying all this weird stuff about how she's ignorant.
You are not stupid. You're ignorant.
But that's good, because she hasn't learned all the wrong things yet. That should have been red flag number 1. But Luann thinks it's romantic because nobody ever told her she wasn't stupid before.
No one's ever told me that before.
Things get progressively more disturbing as the episode goes on. Trip starts controlling everything about Luann. What she wears, how she does her hair, where she lives. He even sends Peggy a dead pig as some kind of twisted message. When Luann finally moves in with him, it gets really dark really fast. The most disturbing part? Trip drugs Luann's milk and dyes her hair red while she's unconscious for 14 hours. Let me repeat that. He drugs her and changes her appearance while she can't consent.
My head is bleeding!
That's absolutely terrifying when you think about it as an adult. As a kid watching this, I just thought it was weird. But now, that's straight up assault. Then we find out the truth. Trip has been obsessed with some old advertisement since he was a child, and he's been searching for years to find someone who looks like the woman in the picture. Luann was never a person to him, just an object to fulfill his sick fantasy. He even destroys all her clothes and makes her wear the same dress over and over.
I never thought I'd meet someone as perfect as the woman in that picture.
The Halloween party scene where Trip proposes is nightmare fuel. He's dressed as a pig, because of course he is, and wants Luann to marry him so they can become the advertisement he's obsessed with. When she tries to escape, he literally chases her into a slaughterhouse. And that ending, man, that ending is dark. Trip gets impaled by the slaughterhouse machinery and dies horribly. They don't show it happening, but you hear him scream.
Uh-oh.
And then Peggy jokes about how he's now a sausage, like a human being just died in the most gruesome way possible, and they're making jokes about it?
Trip had a mental breakdown and is now a sausage.
What makes this episode so disturbing isn't just the obvious stuff like the stalking and control. It's how it shows how easily someone can become trapped in an abusive relationship. Luann goes from being independent to completely isolated and controlled in just a few days. Trip uses classic manipulation tactics, love bombing, isolation, gaslighting, and physical control. The worst part is that this kind of thing happens in real life all the time. People get trapped by manipulative partners who seem charming at first, but slowly take over their entire lives. It's actually a pretty accurate, if extreme, portrayal of how abusive relationships develop. So yeah, Pygmalion definitely earns its spot as one of King of the Hill's darkest episodes. It's got stalking, drugging, psychological abuse, and ends with someone getting turned into literal sausage. But believe it or not, there's an episode that's even darker. Now, if you thought the pig guy episode was messed up, wait until you hear about the time Hank's innocent prank nearly got Dale shot by police. This episode starts off so normal that you'd never expect it to end with a literal hostage situation at a college campus. So here's what happens. Dale's mower breaks down, and he asks to borrow Hank's fancy riding mower. Seems harmless enough, right? Wrong. Dale being Dale, he treats Hank's mower like complete garbage. He rides it through a Whataburger drive-thru, which is honestly pretty funny, runs over random stuff, and then just abandons it on the sidewalk when it runs out of gas. When Hank finds it, there's trash all over it, and someone even wrote, "Wash me" on it.
Oh my God!
Hank gets super mad, and honestly, who wouldn't, and tells Dale he can never borrow anything again. But instead of apologizing, Dale gets this brand new, expensive mower just to show off and make Hank jealous. Then, he does something really petty. He fills Hank's mower's gas tank with Mr. Pibb soda, like that's gonna ruin the whole engine.
This soda pop, Hank.
This is where things start going downhill fast. Hank decides to get revenge by stealing Dale's new mower with Bill and Boomhauer. They think it's just going to be a harmless prank to teach Dale a lesson. They even leave fake ransom notes and send him pictures of the kidnapped mower with aliens and presidents photoshopped in. But here's where it gets really dark. Dale completely loses it.
No!
Like not just regular Dale paranoid, but actually insane paranoid. He stops sleeping, starts seeing conspiracies everywhere, and his mental health just completely falls apart. The guy who's usually just quirky and weird becomes genuinely unhinged. The worst part is how realistic his breakdown feels. When someone's already dealing with paranoia and anxiety, even a stupid prank can push them over the edge. Dale starts thinking there's this huge conspiracy involving Cubans and submarines and all sorts of crazy stuff. It's actually pretty sad to watch someone you care about spiral like that. Then everything goes to hell really fast. Dale's at the college clock tower doing his exterminator job when Bill sees him up there and thinks he's got a rifle. But it's just his bug spray equipment. Bill calls the cops before even checking what's actually happening. And suddenly there's like 20 police cars surrounding the building. The police see Dale in the tower with what looks like a gun and immediately assume he's some kind of shooter. This is where the episode gets genuinely terrifying, because we've all seen this exact scenario play out in real life, and it usually doesn't end well. Dale accidentally lights his bug spray on fire with his cigarette, making it look like he's got a flamethrower, and then the spray tank explodes near the police cars. Now the SWAT team shows up, and everyone thinks Dale's this dangerous criminal when he's literally just trying to kill bugs and having a mental breakdown. The fact that this could happen to anyone is what makes it so scary. One misunderstanding, one person calling the wrong number, and suddenly your life is in danger. Hank finally realizes how badly they messed up and tries to talk Dale down. But then, and this is the most intense part, some vigilante guys from Dale's gun club decide to help by trying to snipe Dale from another building. Hank literally has to jump in front of a bullet to save Dale's life. Thank God Hank was wearing a bulletproof vest, but can you imagine if he wasn't?
I'll never forget you, Hank.
Dale could have watched his best friend die trying to save him from a situation that started as a dumb prank about a lawnmower. The whole thing could have ended with multiple people dead over something so stupid. What makes this episode really disturbing is how it shows how quickly things can escalate in real life. A simple prank turns into property damage, which turns into revenge, which turns into a mental breakdown, which turns into a potential police shooting. It's like watching a car crash in slow motion where you can see exactly how each bad decision leads to the next one. The scariest part? This stuff actually happens. People having mental health crises get shot by police all the time because of misunderstandings. The episode does a good job showing how Dale's just a confused, scared guy who needs help, not someone who deserves to die. So yeah, while it doesn't have the obvious horror elements of the pig episode, this mower situation is darker in a more realistic way. It's the kind of tragedy that could happen to any of us if the wrong things line up at the wrong time. But if you want to see the absolute darkest episode, King of the Hill ever made, we gotta talk about the smoking episode. And I know what you're thinking. How can cigarettes be darker than murder and police shootings? Well, sit down, because this episode will mess you up in ways the others can't. It starts off innocent enough. Bobby finds a cigarette in a dumpster, which is already kind of gross, and decides to try smoking with his friend Joseph.
You wanna spark it?
They sneak into a gas station bathroom to light up, and of course Hank walks in at the worst possible moment. Classic bad timing, right? Now here's where most normal parents would just take the cigarette away, give their kid a lecture, and maybe ground them for a week. But Hank? Nah. Hank decides to use some old-school tough love that his dad probably used on him. He forces Bobby to smoke an entire carton of cigarettes to teach him a lesson. Let me just say that again. Hank makes his 12-year-old son smoke 200 cigarettes in one sitting. That's not discipline, that's basically poisoning your own child. Bobby gets so sick he's literally throwing up, and Hank thinks this is working perfectly.
I'm gonna barf.
That's what I wanted to hear. Good job, son.
But here's the really messed up part. While Bobby's smoking all these cigarettes, Hank keeps grabbing them to show him how to do it properly. And every time Hank takes a drag, you can see this look on his face, like he's remembering something really good. Turns out Hank and Peggy used to be heavy smokers before Bobby was born, and now Hank's getting addicted all over again. By the end of the day, both father and son are completely hooked on cigarettes. Hank's punishment didn't just fail, it created 2 new addicts instead of preventing one. That's some seriously dark irony right there. Things get even worse when Peggy finds out what happened, and instead of being mad at Hank, she starts smoking again too. So now the whole family is addicted because of one really bad parenting decision. They're sneaking around the house, lying to each other, and fighting constantly because they're all going through withdrawal. The most heartbreaking part is watching this perfect family fall apart. The Hills are supposed to be the normal, stable family that everyone looks up to. But addiction doesn't care how good your family is. It'll destroy anyone. Watching Hank and Peggy turn into these sneaky, irritable people who care more about their next cigarette than their son is genuinely painful. But the scene that really gets me is when Luann finds them all fighting over the last cigarette like a bunch of animals. She completely breaks down and starts screaming at them about how she's sick of dysfunction. When Luann locks him in the bedroom and yells, "Function! Function, damn you!"
Function! Function, damn you!
It's not funny anymore, it's a traumatized young woman desperately trying to save the only family she has left. She's terrified that Bobby's gonna end up like she did, with parents who care more about their addiction than taking care of their kid. The episode shows addiction for what it really is. Not glamorous or cool, but ugly and destructive. They show the Hills going to this support group where everyone looks miserable and sick. When they go to a restaurant, the smoking section is full of people coughing and looking terrible, while the non-smoking section is lively and fun. What makes this episode so dark isn't the violence or horror, it's how realistic it is. This is exactly how addiction works in real families. One bad decision leads to another, secrets start piling up, and before you know it, everyone's lying and fighting, and the whole family structure just collapses. The scariest part is that Hank genuinely thought he was being a good parent. He wasn't trying to hurt Bobby, he was trying to protect him, using the same methods that were probably used on him as a kid. But instead of helping, he almost destroyed his entire family. Thankfully, the episode has a somewhat happy ending, where they all quit together during a storm. But the damage was done. For a few days there, the Hills went from being the most functional family in Ireland to being just as messed up as everyone else. And that's what makes it the darkest episode of all. It shows that no family is safe from falling apart, no matter how much love they have. Those are the 3 darkest King of the Hill episodes that prove this show was way more than just propane jokes. From psychological horror to near-fatal misunderstandings to family destruction, these episodes went places most animated shows wouldn't dare. What's crazy is they all teach us something real. How predators manipulate, how misunderstandings turn deadly, and how good intentions can destroy families. King of the Hill never gets enough credit for tackling these dark topics while staying a family show. What do you think? Let me know which episode messed you up most in the comments. And remember, sometimes the scariest monsters look completely normal.